Welcome to Successful Living. I'm your host, Rob Auclair, financial planner at Balanced Wealth Management in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. On today's show, we're going to talk about perseverance. And anytime we have a goal, the one thing that they say is very important is that we work through those goals and practice perseverance. So we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of that quality and also how to practice that quality. We're then going to be joined by our mortgage expert, Steve Tetzner, Vice President at Homestar Mortgage, and Steve's going to talk about the current interest rate environment and if it's time to refinance, not refinance, and he's going to tell us everything that we need to know about mortgages, so he's going to be joining us shortly. We're then going to talk about the stock market and the fears that might be stuck in that stock market right now. March was quite an experience, and we seem to have made it back. But many clients of mine are certainly concerned of what's around the corner this fall and this winter between the coronavirus and also the election. So we'll talk about that. And then finally, we'll answer a viewer question on Medicare premiums. So the word of the day today. The word of the day, as I said, is perseverance. Perseverance is a continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. So there was a study done by the University of Pennsylvania, and they said when we have goals, the number one quality to achieving those goals are perseverance. And that perseverance is not something that anyone is born with. It's something that is learned, it is something that's practiced, and it's something that can be picked up at any age. They show that there's no discrepancy that if someone didn't really have a quality of perseverance early in their lifetime, that they couldn't pick it up later in their lifetime. So let's talk about the benefits of persevering. Number one is the value of a goal. So when we talk about the value of the goal, it's really that commitment and the anticipation of the bumps in the road that we place a value on that goal. We know this isn't just, I just said something and I'm going to do it. It's a goal and we have a plan in place. Number two, perseverance improves problem solving. So we're going to go through those difficulties and we're not going to give up. Like we said in our last episode, a lot of little goals leads to the big goals, and we want to work on those. Number three, creates focus. So if we're so, tunnel vision is what we look for, we push everything else aside, we are creating a focus in that scenario. Number four, self-confidence. Anytime we achieve goals, whether they're small or large, self-confidence is something that gets increased, self-worth gets increased, and so does personal control. And then finally, trustworthiness. A lot of people will look at someone who perseveres and says, that's a hard worker, that's someone I want on my side, no matter what. So very important pieces there of why perseverance works. Now let's find out how we can improve on it. So, and by the way, when I talk about these things, as I'm going through this, I'm like, I need to persevere more on everything I do. So I'm just hopefully passing along some words that help you and also help me. So number one, how to persevere. Keep a strong belief. Believe in yourself. Keep self-talking yourself. I'm going to do it. If it's a weight loss thing, I'm going to lose 5 pounds. I'm going to lose 5 pounds. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to visualize it. Number two, be optimistic. It doesn't pay to be negative. And anytime we focus on those negative feelings, that's certainly something that is not going to be helpful. Number three, live in the present. When I think of this, I think of my dad, who taught me many life lessons, and he would always say, and I never got it when I was younger, but he said, stop looking in the rearview mirror, look through the windshield. He said, forget about what's behind you. Now you want to persevere and push through the front. Number four, failure is a success. And so every time you think of these goals, your goal isn't, hey, I'm going to take steps 1 through 5, I'm done and it's over. It's each step has got its individual goal and its own struggles. And what we need to understand is that a goal is a collaboration of all these struggles that we overcame to succeed. Number five, you want to visualize. Michael Jordan was a big one here, and he wanted to visualize being successful. Lastly, Albert Einstein, who attributes his success to perseverance, said, it's not that I'm smart, it's just that I stay with my problems longer than most people. When we return, we'll be joined by Steve Tetzner. Stay tuned.